Boom, boom. Stratocracy is defined as rule by the military. Authoritarian, old as civilization, and fiercely oppressive if need be, stratocracy does not have any political leanings. Rather, it sees the entire country run within the interests of the military, which can vary from coup to coup. But there are some consistencies. A military government is overseen by a junta, a small faction of powerful individuals, in other words, an oligarchy. They take power through non-democratic means, and they justify their rule by using populist tactics. There have been countless examples of stratocracies throughout history, from Sparta to Imperial Japan, 3rd century Rome to 20th century Brazil. Heck, the nations of Sudan, Mali, Myanmar and Chad are ongoing examples of stratocracies in action. While stratocratic governments have proven popular, they have little longevity, and usually succumb to either outward or inward pressures in a decade or so. Given this inherent instability, a society would have to be a special kind of messed up to stick with stratocracy for an entire century, and as we have come to expect, the porcelain people will do just that. The timeline ensues. The elders return from their pilgrimage to their sacred site with important news. Firstly, a foreign empire has absorbed half the river valley. Secondly, they have chosen stratocracy as their ideology and there needs to be a coup. One dead Khan later, the newly empowered junta begins drawing up plans. They note the enemies on both sides of their territory, the mysterious empire in the river valley and the menacing flats to the south. If they are to take down these foes, they not only need a robust army, but a population that can cooperate. This proves easy to do, as the clear enemies at play allow them to quickly spread an us versus them mentality amongst the populace, which, due to long-standing ideological traditions, doesn't bat an eyelid at the sudden change in government. Of course, the warmongering plans the junta has are reliant on their army, which in its current state is ill-equipped for a conquest this large. Sturdy metal is scarce within the foothills of their territory, and given their advantage of horses, their campaign will have to rely on speed rather than strength. First things first, they have to narrow things down. No infantry, no siege, no sappers. There will only be one type of cavalry, equipped with all the necessary gadgets to complete their goals. Barbed and fire arrows for taking out infantry and defences, daggers for melee duels, and a horn. You'll see why. Alongside the cavalry forces will be the goats, equipped with thick leather armour and spiked caps. Herded by the cavalry into enemy territory, the cavalry blow their horns, startling the goats, and causing them to ram into any unsuspecting life form in their way. This two-part army is designed to strike fast and to overwhelm. But there's a problem. These tactics require a skilled force composed of every able-bodied individual in their population. But to reach that will require expertise, and horses, and at the moment, they don't have enough of either. Expertise comes with time, but to get more goats and horses will require lots of food, and that requires agriculture, and agriculture requires constant attention, and they're no longer nomadic. Behold, the Democratic Free People's Republic of Porceland. As the years pass by, the junta begin moulding the societal structure of Porceland to serve their upcoming conquests. A new generation is raised on military training, and after 2 decades is primed and ready for combat. Every soldier a skilled generalist, amongst ranks of born fighters, hoof and foot. It has been a painstaking logistical effort for the Republic to prepare enough supplies for 10,000 cavalry and twice as many goats. For most of the soldiers, this is a culmination of a life of training. The moment has come. The junta decides to tackle the flats first, and the army sets up camp nearby. At nightfall, the porcelain army rushes in from the north. The flats awaken to the deafening sound of horns and the glow of flaming arrows. It is a massacre. The flats are taken completely by surprise and are overwhelmed. Panicked citizens run from the burning embers of their homes, only to be picked off by the minnow, who capitalise on the raid and charge inwards on all sides. Any flats not killed are sold into slavery, while the porcelain army sees next to no losses. At long last, the porcelain people can resume trade with the minnow, and they carve up and loot their newly gained land. But there's no time to waste. The porcelain army rides their high from their recent conquest, all the way north to the river valley. They make their way through the corridor and expect an easy conquest, but these foreign invaders are much more advanced than these mere raiders. The first cavalry lines move in, and they are met not with soldiers, but with rows of stone barricades encircled by wooden stakes. But before they can turn around, the barricades open up and a torrent of bolts pour out, piercing through lines of cavalry. The porcelain army retreat and regroup. The defences are too strong, and the opportunity for a surprise raid has vanished. So the junta comes up with a new plan. They split up the porcelain army and send them out with some civilians to establish settlements along the perimeter of the river valley, with supply lines running on horseback throughout. The lack of retaliation from the foreign usurpers only proves that they're playing the defensive game, but the junta doesn't mind. If the window for a surprise raid is closed, then they have no choice but to be patient. The settlements hold out for decades, being the source of constant raids against the foreign invaders. As expected, the pressure from various enemy settlements digging in around the borders causes some issues to the foreign invaders, who find their supply lines stretched thin. This is furthered when the Minnow join in on the siege and begin sending attack fleets up the river, and year after year, their territory gets smaller and smaller and smaller until all that's left is a fortress on the very stretch of plain where the porcelain people first arrived. Flaming arrows rain down upon stone walls, while soldiers scale over the ramparts, slaughtering all inside. As the last bastion of these foreign invaders burns down, the porcelain people are once again reunited with their sacred land. Little remains of the invaders that isn't a scattering of embers, well, except for the rotted shells of ships along the northern harbour, which can easily be reverse engineered. These invaders came from the seas, and without doubt there will be more, but whereas they once looked towards the ocean with unease, they now see opportunity. Of course, with their centennial around the corner, the porcelain people get ready to follow their age-old tradition once more, and choose a new ideology to follow for the next 100 years. The crowds gather around the holy site, while the elders perform ancient hymns to access the realm of the YouTube comment section. There, the highest minds can choose a new ideology for the Porcelain Republic to follow, and the ideology with the most likes will be used for the next 100 years, greatly affecting the lives of the porcelain people. So what ideology should they follow next? You decide.